Okay,
Hang on.
Iris versus Destoroyah by Forrest Frood. Iris and Destroyer both land on Birth Island, each knocking over trees and blowing up enormous clouds of dust as they come to rest on the rocky ground. Both monsters begin to eye each other, Destroyer eyeing smaller Iris with a desire to kill, while Iris has an unreadable expression on its faceless head. Both monsters begin to circle each other, both tense for the coming battle. Destroyer breaks the stalemate by firing his oxygen destroyer beam at Iris. The blast strikes Iris full force in the chest, which is caught off guard by the sudden assault. Iris screeches out in pain as the blast sears his flesh with almost white-hot agony. Iris, after recovering from the attack, retaliates by lunging at Destroyer, right arm raised to drive the jagged spear point into his opponent's flesh. Destroyer braces himself for the foe, but it never lands, as Iris flies up and over Destroyer just before he is within striking range. Yep. Before Destroyer can recover, Iris does a quick 180-degree turn in midair, sends two of his bladed tendrils through the base of Destroyer's wings, then flies forward, quickly tearing huge gaps in Destroyer's wing membranes and snapping the bones before the blades rip free. As Iris tears the blades out, Destroyer screams out in pain and rage. Iris pulls his tendrils back and pivots in midair, only to find Destroyer charging towards him, screaming bloody murder with his tattered, bloody wings flapping ineffectually behind him. Next. Or pass.
Great shot.
Sorry, I had my mic muted. Destroyer's claws connect with Iris's left arm, tearing an enormous, ragged, bloody gash into it. Iris shrieks out in pain and reflexively takes into the air, trying to escape his enraged opponent and trailing blood in his wake. When Destroyer tries to follow, he only snarls with pain as he tries to get his ruined wings to work. Iris stops ascending and looks down at his grounded opponent. Gaining confidence, Iris lashes out with his tendrils again, aiming for Destroyer's head. Destroyer senses the tendrils approaching and fires an oxygen destroyer beam at them, knocking them off course. One tendril gets past the beam, striking Destroyer Destroyer in the right half of his faceplate. Destroyer shrieks out and responds to the attack by grabbing the tendril, pulling on it with all of his might. Iris, once again caught off guard, is pulled from the sky and strikes the ground, causing small fissures to open up. Destroyer then begins to pull the tendril, using it to reel in Iris. Iris, sensing that he is in danger, responds by sending out two of his tendrils and wrapping them around his foe's legs, pulls with all his might. Now caught off balance, Destroyer falls to the ground. At the moment of impact, Destroyer seems to dissolve into a swarm of crustacean destroyers. Just as suddenly as Destroyer breaks apart, the crustacean destroyers begin to swarm Iris, who is still recovering from the fall. The creatures begin to claw, bite, and sting Iris as he tries to get to his feet. In desperation, Iris takes to the air once again, flying at top speed to try and dislodge the crustacean destroyers from his body. The sudden acceleration manages to dislodge half of them, but the rest remain and continue to assault him. Iris lashes out at the crustacean destroyers with his tendrils, knocking them off. Then he lashes out with one of his own tendrils, impaling one of the falling crabs. Iris brings the beast up to his right claw and then drives the point into the creature's shell. The crustacean destroyer screams out in pain and then is quieted as Iris drains its life energy. As Iris absorbs the crab's life energy, the multitude of small wounds the other crabs had caused him to stop. Sorry, I cannot speak. Crabs had caused him to stop bleeding and close up. That is a bad sentence right there. Iris drops the dislocated husk in crab, which crumbles into dust as it falls. Pass.
While Iris was fighting off his smaller bodies, Destroyer used the time to regain some of his energy and had rejoined into its flying form. Now noticing that Iris was distracted, he flew up towards the other monster, murder burning in his eyes. Iris is stunned to see that his foe had not only changed form again, but is now flying directly towards him. Destroyer flies past Iris, slashing his damaged left arm with his wing blades. What? It then circles.
Remember when Destroyer had wind blades? I remember that.
Wing blades. Interesting. Then circles around for another run. Iris, no longer surprised, waits till the last second and then suddenly dives out of the way. As Destroyer flies over, Iris brings up two of his tendrils and fires his energy beams at his foe. The beams rake across Destoroyah's belly, and Destoroyah begins to plummet towards the ground. Iris pivots in midair so he can watch his enemy splatter himself on the ground. But when Destoroyah hits, he breaks apart into many crustacean Destoroyahs again. Pass.
Okay, wind blades, wow. Iris stares with amazement. Destoroyah once again reforms to his giant form, with wings perfectly intact. Destoroyah takes to the air once again, and with such speed that he is upon Iris before he can react. Summoning all of his strength, Destoroyah folds up his wings and body slams into Iris, knocking them both out of the air. Good God Almighty! The two behemoths plummet towards the ground in a tangle of wings, tendrils, teeth, and claws, both snarling and shrieking as they fall. They hit with such tremendous force that the enormous fissures open up, snaking away from the fallen monsters. Wow. Destoroyah lands on top of Destoroyah having landed on top, pins Iris under him. 1, 2, 3. Iris struggles to get free, but Destoroyah uses tremendous bulk to force him down. Destoroyah lunges with his jaws at Iris' head, but Iris manages to shift just enough to move his head out of harm's way. Instead, Destoroyah clamps his vicious jaws onto Iris' left shoulder, biting down hard. Iris screams out in pain as Destoroyah's teeth puncture his shoulder muscles and reach the bone, causing a small torrent of blood to emerge from the bite wound into Destoroyah's mouth. Enraged that anything would hurt him that severely, Iris manages to wrestle his right arm free and dive it into Destoroyah's left eye, then twists the tip up and drills it in further, causing a grisly spray of blood to erupt from Destoroyah's eye socket. Destoroyah, maddened by the pain, is forced to release his grip and fly backwards to escape. Iris gets to his feet and also flies backwards, so as to distance himself from his rabid opponent. The two monsters stare each other down, Iris examining his ruined left shoulder and now useless left arm, and Destoroyah fuming by being half-blinded. Destoroyah roars out in uncontained fury that begins to advance on Iris. Iris brings up his tendrils to prepare to fire, but knows that Destoroyah's horn is glowing. Realizing what Destoroyah is about to use a new attack, Iris evades briefly in time as Destoroyah's horn cutter beam slices past his left flank. The beam misses Iris' body, but does sever one of Iris' tendrils, cauterizing the wound as it goes. Horn cutter beam.
Real quick.
The horn cutter beam, that famous attack he has.
Yes,
totally.
totally.
It's the horn katana. Back in the day, that's kind of what people called it.
Right. Also, Destoroyah roars in uncontained furry.
Was it furry?
Yeah, it was furry.
Oh, I guess I just automatically corrected it. Oops.
Yeah, I know. That's just the way we work.
The best one was the R though. It just threw the entire sentence off.
But as we continue, by all means.
Oh boy, Destoroyah flaps his wings and charges Iris, who is distracted by the pain of his ruined tendril. Iris, eyes turning blue with anger, because he totally does that, trusts one of his tendrils straight at Destoroyah. Destoroyah, blind in his left side, doesn't notice the tendril and is struck in the throat. The blow acts like a clothesline. Destoroyah falls to his right and crashes, rolling through the trees as if they were toothpicks. That sounds uncomfortable. When he comes to a stop, Destoroyah tries to get his bearings, but instead feels a searing pain in his right arm and wing. When he tries to move them, he can't. As Destoroyah looks over, he sees Iris floating above him. Destoroyah roars when he realizes that two of Iris' tentacles have rammed through his right arm and wing, pinning him to the ground. Iris thrusts two more tendrils out, this time through Destoroyah's left arm and wing. Destoroyah tries to pull free, but Iris lands on his chest. Iris, still furious about losing one of his tendrils, drives his good right arm through the bottom of Destoroyah's jaw, pinning Destoroyah's jaw shut. Iris then begins to siphon off Destoroyah's power. Destoroyah begins to wither slightly as Iris begins to heal his injured left arm and shoulder. Distracted by feeding, Iris is caught off guard as Destoroyah suddenly breaks apart into his spider/crab form again, freeing himself from Iris' grasp. Destroyer's crab bodies distance themselves, then rejoin into their final form. The two monsters stare each other down, Iris visibly recharged from feeding, while Destroyer is considerably weakened from so many shape changes and from taking so much damage. Iris brings up his tendrils and begins to charge them up and destroy his horn cutter. I just want to say you can kind of notice that this was written before everyone realized that, Destroyer reforms good as new every time he...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It sounds like, every time Destroyer changes, he gets weakened. At least just in context of this match. It's just like, in the film, pretty sure that's not the case.
And that's just... Yeah, this, if I remember right, this
interesting
match
concept, don't get me wrong.
was
And I also
written before that epiphany.
The also note you can definitely make note of the fact that he's just calling them crabs/spiders instead of the aggregate forms, which is definitely turned up. Which again, this is an older match. People use different things. So these early 2000ers with their weird writing styles, what are you gonna know?
Right.
But
Those
here,
damn millennials.
yeah. But here, I'll finish her out. Destroyer, barely able to keep himself up, can only half-heartedly retreat as Iris lashes out with a virtual storm of cutting beams. Most of the beams fail to hit, but two find their mark. One takes off Destroyer's left wing and arm, while the second slices his right leg off at the knee. Destroyer collapses to the ground, blood pooling up around his severed limbs. Destroyer tries to get up, but can't, as he realizes that he is fatally wounded. He manages to call up enough strength to raise himself up on a bloody stump of his right leg and his remaining arm. Destroyer looks up to see Iris slowly advancing on him, tendrils lashing out in anticipation. Destroyer tries to gather enough energy for one last Oxygen Destroyer beam, but the blast fizzles out in his mouth as his arm slips in his own blood and slides out from under him. Destroyer collapses, but manages to raise his head to look at Iris, who is looming over his prone body. Destroyer growls once, but it is struck by one of Iris's tendrils across his muzzle. Wait, what? The growl is not struck. But Iris brings all of his tendrils to bear on Destroyer, and, opening the tips, begins to charge up several Oxygen Destroyer beams. Then, in a blaze of blue-white energy, Iris begins to immolate Destroyer's prone form with a torrent of energy. Destroyer screams out in pain, but soon grows quiet as his mind slips into oblivion. Iris continues to unleash the brilliant streams of destructive energy until there is nothing left of Destroyer's corpse but an ashen husk. Iris lowers his tentacles and lashes Destroyer, causing the blasted shell to crumble like burnt paper. Seeing his foe so thoroughly dead, Iris raises his head, shrieks at the heavens, and then takes to the air, his tendrils whipping up a cloud of ash as he vanishes into the sky. Winner, I think it's Destroyer, guys. I think Destroyer wins this one. No, Iris. Okay, it's Iris.
It's Iris. Oh, that was great. So, thoughts on the match?
I was. That's why I said yep in the middle of reading mine part earlier.
Okay.
It was written at the time when Iris was believed to be the super deadly hand-to-hand fighter that he's not.
Not really. I mean, yeah, he's capable, sure, but yeah, this is very overpowering. It was like, jeez.
Yep. Yeah, it's overpowered Iris. It's way old. Just tell by the writing.
An Iris that wouldn't make his return until Tom's match of 150.
Really?
Wait, seriously?
What's the last appearance of Iris?
No.
He appeared. No. Oh, no. That's the last time he appeared until 56. Bagging versus Everyone Fallout. Then 62, 100, 135, and 150.
Really?
Yep. So yeah,
well, Iris needs a new match then.
I guess so, man. Iris is, I thought for sure Iris was more than that, but I guess not.
Yeah,
hey, I wrote my Iris match. Where are you guys? I did that 30 matches ago.
Yeah.
Well, wait, no. He was in match 62 also.
Yeah. Like I said,
King Caesar versus Iris.
Yep.
No, that was a good match.
Then he was in 100, Everyone versus Everyone. 135, Godzilla Jr., Anguirus, and Gabara versus Iris. I think that's you.
That one was me. That's what I was saying.
That's why he said he did one 30 matches ago.
Plug.
Exactly. Thank you.
Self-plug for days.
I will make note though that that match is not good. It's not good whatsoever, but it's a solid okay.
I don't remember reading it.
Well, we'll get there when we get there.
I'm pretty sure I read it. I just don't remember reading it.
And hey, Iris can turn his eye blue when he's angry. Who knew?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember Destoroyah's horn cutter beam.
Yeah. Well, I think what we can definitely make note is this was definitely running out of time. Again, Iris was, if this was written like 2002, 2003, that was only a few years after Gamera, and I think we all can see that after Godzilla. I made this in the commercial break, but in Godzilla Final Wars or even the new Godzilla film, you definitely see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is the most powerful Godzilla." But once there's enough time separated, the monster then becomes what it is actually represented in the film, and not what people imagine.
Why am I reminded of G14 for some reason? I don't
Yeah,
exactly.
that's exactly what's happening here, and to an extent, it's still happening with Final Wars and that stupid, overrated piece of skeletal crap, Monster X.
Yeah, if only because the film just felt like,
Which actually reminds me, if you guys want to see an awesome Monster X match, shameless plug 164. Fun fact, MM's favorite match.
No, his favorite match is 50.
Wait, is this that? Okay,
I cannot wait to go.
Wait, is this the one that you wrote that me and like Harley were like, this is not good?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that was it.
Okay, we're gonna get onto a topic like this now. Great shot, you know. I love you.
Before we
I love your matches and everything, but the dialogue in that match was just.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I gotta admit, Great shot. The dialogue was really painful to watch.
Okay.
It was harmful.
It's hard. Yeah,
In any case, on Iris versus Destoroyah, again, a solid match. Definitely shows the times. A little bit dated, but still a solid read. If you want to get some good inspiration for a nice bloody match, this is one of the first ones to do so. Actually, it probably was the first one to do so.
You said that got bloodier as time went on. I'm calling bull now.
Well, it does. I mean, this one still... I mean, you have to imagine, Iris and Destoroyah were the two monsters that really... I guess in the Godzilla series, that really kind of pushed that, because Destoroyah, he was like bleeding profusely, and then Iris just like with what he does to Gamera should be, dear God.
Bloody though.
Yeah, they're all bloody to a degree, especially Gamera.
Okay, I mean,
To a degree. What are you talking
Gamera,
about?
the Gamera series though, really. Godzilla's not that bloody. Godzilla's not that bloody. Considered like Godzilla films, Destoroyah was by far the bloodiest monster he fought when he just broke apart in green goo whenever it is.
What about Godzilla vs. Gigan, where Gigan's like sliced open Godzilla's shoulder?
Oh no! I'm talking about the Hesse era, like that. In those films, those two were by far the powerhouses of each respective franchise.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. But anyway, that. Crap! I forgot my outro.
That concludes match 2, and we are now going to be next time. Join us for Destoroyah vs. Mechagodzilla in match 3 by the same writer, actually.